Okay, good morning, everyone. We have resumed the preliminary hearing calendar for this morning. My name is Judge Tamika West Bernard. I'm the presiding judge for the preliminary hearing calendar for today. The first case we have for a hearing is at position 1 through 2 on the calendar. I'm sorry, it appears to be 1 through 4. So I'm officially calling the state of Georgia versus Tycarius Bell for warrant number 2023 CW 50078 for the charge of giving an inmate guns, drugs, and/or alcohol. Position 2, I have the state of Georgia versus Tycarius Bell for the charge of aggravated assault, warrant number 2023 CW 50098. Third charge, I have a separate charge for warrant number 2023 CW 50099. A separate charge of giving inmates guns, drugs, or alcohol. Position 4, we have a charge of possession of prohibited items, warrant number 2023 WA 02425. That will conclude the pending charges against Mr. Bell on the calendar for today. The state is represented by ADA Cheryl Freeman. The defendant is represented by Attorney Carol Skull. The defendant, Mr. Bell, is appearing live via Zoom at the Clayton County Jail. State ready to proceed forward with the first witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, please proceed.
Lieutenant Brock, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony provided in the matter of state of Georgia versus Tycarius Bell will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You can lower your hand. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
My name is Lieutenant Brock. I'm employed with the Clayton County Sheriff's Office. I've been employed since March 2021, and I'm currently the commander over CID and Internal Affairs.
Okay. Lieutenant, there are several different warrant numbers, and so what we'll do, I'll just call out the warrant number that we'll start with. The first warrant number that we'll start with is warrant number 2023 CW 50078. Okay.
Okay. Do you have the case number by chance?
Okay. That case number, warrant number corresponds to 2023 006 004.
Okay.
Okay. And what I want to ask you, Lieutenant, this was a case that the warrant was taken out by a David Jackson. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Jackson is no longer with the Clayton County Sheriff's Office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In your capacity, are you able to provide testimony regarding this particular case?
That's correct.
Were you a supervisor to Mr. Jackson when he was with the Sheriff's Office?
That's correct.
Okay. With this particular warrant number, for an incident that allegedly occurred on January 6th of 2023, could you please tell the court what happened on that date involving Mr. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. This incident occurred January 6th of 2023, approximately around 1:30 a.m. in the morning. Jail staff, jail officers conducted a search of the jail to get items out of the jail that did not belong. If an inmate is allowed to have certain items, they could keep those items, but any other items, they have to be confiscated. So on that day, officers conducted a search, one being of Mr. Bell's cell. Mr. Bell's cell, his cell number was, I believe it was 415. That was a cell that he was assigned to, or the cell that he was in at the time of the search. And upon searching the cell of Mr. Bell, officers found a cell phone in his possession.
Lieutenant Brock, do you recall where exactly in the cell phone was located?
It was inside of his mattress. When officers searched it, inside of his mattress.
When you say inside of the mattress, had a hole been cut, or was there some kind of opening in the mattress?
Yes, ma'am. each inmate is given a mattress. The mattress is examined before it's given to the inmate to make sure it's in protocol with the agency, make sure there's no holes, no slits, something that they could be able to sleep on. And typically they'll cut the mattress like a little slit inside so they can stick items or contraband inside of the mattress.
After the cell phone was found, was it placed into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that mattress removed or I guess stitched up?
Yes, ma'am. They will remove the mattress and provide the inmate with a different mattress.
Was Mr. Bell allowed to have this cell phone in his possession?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Bell make any statements regarding this cell phone?
Not that I could recall.
That happened in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, going to the next case where I believe you completed the WAA. This is case number 2023-025011. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And on this particular case, involving an alleged incident that occurred on
I'm
January.
sorry, Cheryl, I don't want to interrupt you, but I don't see that the 025.
I'm sorry, that's his case number. I'm sorry,
Oh, okay.
the warrant, I'm sorry, the number is 2023 WA 02425.
Thank you.
I apologize. So Lieutenant Brock, this was an incident that allegedly occurred on January 25th of 2023 involving Mr. Bell. Can you tell the court what happened on that particular day?
Yes, ma'am. The jail conducted another jail search of the cells, just like the one prior to, and upon searching Mr. Bell's cell, again, another telecommunication device, which was a cell phone, was also found on Mr. Bell on January 25th of 2023.
Do you recall where this cell phone was located?
Let me be sure to make sure he was in the same. Bear with me 1 second. And I also believe it was in the same cell as well. I'm just trying to confirm.
Okay.
For case, I have to get the exact cell number, but I have to get the log for where Mr. Bell was at that time.
Was it found in the cell that he was assigned to?
Yes, ma'am.
And where exactly inside of the cell was it located?
In pod 4.
I mean, where on his person, or was it found in the mattress again? Or
I believe on this one, it was actually found underneath his mattress. I just want to be sure I got the log sheet. Matter of fact, I know where it's at. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, he was in cell 415, and it was this time. More time. It froze up.
Right, so the last I heard was cell 415, and then you cut off.
That's correct. It was inside of his mattress as well.
Regarding this incident, did Mr. Bell make any statements?
No, ma'am.
Was Mr. Bell permitted to have this cell phone?
No, ma'am.
Did that incident happen in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go to the next two warrants. 2023 CW 50098 and 99. That corresponds to case number 2023 004003D.
Okay.
And Lieutenant, and kind of the same questions I asked you earlier, the individual who took these warrants out is no longer working with the sheriff's office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the reason that you're able to testify regarding these charges, were you a supervisor to Mr. Swain when he was with the sheriff's office?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, for these warrants, can you please tell the court this was an incident that allegedly occurred on December 31st of 2022 involving Mr. Bell? Can you tell us what happened in that case?
That's correct. As you said, that happened on December 31st of 2022 at approximately 11 o'clock p.m. Officers were called to a scene of a severe beating of a inmate by the name of Mr. Tyreek Abduzador. And upon checking out Mr. Abduzador, and I can't pronounce his name well, so you got to excuse me. Upon checking him out, he went to the infirmary unit for multiple stab wounds. At that time, CID was notified to come in and investigate, in which we did. There was a video that surfaced of Mr. Abduzador where he was being severely beaten by several inmates. And during that time, Mr. Abduzador was very bloody in the video as they were beating him, punching him, stabbing him, kicking him, and among other things. Also in the video, several inmates were using gang language in reference to gang affiliation during the beating, asking Mr. Abduzador to say F mob, which is they also call it MOB, and mob is also known as Goodfellas. So the gang is together, but is known as Goodfellas, but they call it the mob. And during that beating, that's what they were wanting him to say.
Lieutenant, you talked about the how severely injured Mr. Bell was. Do you recall any specific injuries that he had?
He had multiples of injuries, but one specific injury that I remember was that he was beaten and stabbed severely to the point to where his lungs had collapsed.
The video that you all located, were you able to see different inmates or identify the different inmates who participated in this stabbing and beating?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to determine if Mr. Bell was part of that?
Yes, ma'am, we were.
Did you have a clear I guess, view of Mr. Bell in that video?
If it recalls right, the video, his face wasn't viewed on the video, but we identified several inmates through like their clothing or tattoos, things that were identifiable that was on the video, as far as like either their feet or their hands, stuff like that.
And one of the charges for Mr. Bell was related to another cell phone. Please tell us what your investigation, what you learned from your investigation regarding Mr. Bell and the phone.
If I could recall right, I believe investigators, they actually seized the cell phone from Mr. Bell's cell at the time. They actually seized the cell phone from him, and we also was able to identify features of his body as it was related to the video of the beating of Mr. Abdul-Jabbar.
Was the cell phone taken off of his person, or was it found in his cell, if you can recall?
If I could recall, I believe it was found inside of his cell.
Did Mr. Bell make any statements regarding this incident?
Mr. Bell did make a statement. Mr. Bell's statement is saying that he was not present during the beating and that he had nothing to do with it.
Was that video placed into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the cell phone taken from Mr. Bell placed into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Bell have permission to have that cell phone?
No, ma'am.
Did this take place in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have.
You're a witness, Attorney Scott.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Lieutenant Brock. I have just a couple of questions for you, and I'm going to try and do it the same way. I'll just kind of go incident by incident.
Yes, ma'am.
So starting with, I don't have your case numbers, but starting with the first incident, the January that we talked about, the January 6, 2023 cell phone.
That's correct.
You said that it was found in Mr. Bell's cell. Did he have anyone else in that cell? Were there any other inmates in that cell?
If I could recall, I think it's 2 to a cell. Sometimes it could be 3 at times.
Okay. And you weren't part of this search, correct? You weren't there that night.
No, ma'am.
And you said that it was his mattress. How do you know whose mattress is whose?
So we sign each inmate a cell. That would be their assigned cells. And up on, when we go inside of the cells, either somebody will sleep, wherever they're going to be designated to sleep, whether it's the top bunk or bottom bunk. And then we ask the inmates. So like when we go in, because say, for example, if they want to switch bunks, when we enter into the cell, we ask them who is sleeping where, and then they will identify where they're sleeping at the time.
And do you know if that was done on the night of this search?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, for the correctional officer, because that's what we do when we do search.
But you didn't see that or hear that, correct? And so there's no identification written on the mattress or anything, correct?
No, ma'am.
And were there any other personal items found on this mattress or around this mattress belonging to Mr. Bell?
To the best of my knowledge, no. Only the cell phone was confiscated from his mattress.
So there was no other personal items belonging to Mr. Bell, like items that he was allowed to have, correct?
Oh yeah, like tissue and soap and things of that nature. Yes.
And so you actually don't know who put the slit in that mattress, correct?
No, ma'am. I can't say. I can't say who put the slit in there.
And Mr. Bell made no statement regarding that, correct?
No, ma'am.
And when the search warrant, when the cell phone was taken into evidence, was it ever turned on?
If I could recall, I think it was turned on that night, but it had a lock on it, if I could recall correctly.
And was there ever any kind of search warrant or attempt to get into that cell phone?
I believe that there was. I think the search warrant may be pending, but I'll check at a later date.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And just moving very quickly again to the second cell phone.
Yeah.
The one that was found on January 25th, 2023. I'm gonna kind of bypass. From as far as you know, you weren't there for that search. Were you there for that search?
No, ma'am.
But that is a warrant that you actually took out, correct?
That's correct.
And that was again a search of cells.
That's correct.
And Mr. Bell would have had 2 to 3 other individuals living, at least 1 to 2 other individuals in that cell also.
Yes, at least one more.
And again, the only way of identifying the mattress is by somebody telling them whose mattress was where, correct?
Right. The actual inmate, they would tell us where they're sleeping.
But other people would have had access to that mattress, specifically the other roommates.
So just them being in the cell, it'd probably be both inmates. Both inmates will have access to each other's things. So that's why when we enter in the cell, we ask the inmate, "Hey, where are you sleeping, and where's your belongings?" And they'll say, "Hey, this is my bunk, and this is my belongings over here."
And are those cell doors ever open during the day where other inmates would have access?
That could be possible. It has occurred where when they're out in the day room, they enter into each other's room at times. They're not supposed, but they do it.
And that would be true for the first cell phone also, correct?
Say one more time. I'm sorry.
That would be true for the first cell phone also, correct?
Yes, like during the day, if they come out, it just depends on who they let inside of their cells.
And the cell phone, the January 25th cell phone, was that ever turned on?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. But it also has a lock on it as well.
And do we know the status of any search warrant or anything on that phone?
And that also will be pending.
And then going to the New Year's Eve, the December 31st, 2022 incident.
Yes.
You said that the victim was Tariq Adusabor. Is that correct?
Yes.
And approximately how many people were involved in this fight?
It was multiples of inmates. It could range anywhere from 5 to 8, maybe. But it could be anywhere from 5 to 8. I'll say about 5 at least.
And I'm a little bit unclear. Was this just a beating, or was Mr. Adusabor stabbed also?
He was also stabbed.
And what part of his body was he stabbed?
Multiple body parts were stabbed during this incident, just all over his body. But one major injury was the collapse of his lungs.
Okay. And you said that this is obviously videotaped. So was this in the common area of the day room?
This was actually inside of the cell.
Are there videos in the cell?
No. How we obtained that video was that they actually was recording it on a cell phone. And we were able to retrieve that video because it was actually sent out somewhere else.
Who was recording on the cell phone? Do you recall?
I can't recall who was actually recording on the cell phone.
Was that cell phone ever recovered?
I would have to check. I think we had got like maybe 2 or 3 cell phones out of that search, but I don't know what actually cell phone it was recorded on.
Now you said you got 2 or 3 cell phones. Was one of those cell phones the one that you recovered from Mr. Bell on that day?
No, not that day. Not on December the 31st.
Okay. Was any kind of contraband, what contraband was recovered from Mr. Bell on December 31st?
As far as the contraband was concerned, I don't recall if there was any contraband for Mr. Bell on December the 31st. I know it was on January, I think the 12th and the 25th I know January the 25th for him.
Okay. There was a warrant taken out that day though for, I think giving contraband to an inmate or something along those lines. Let me check it real quick. Yeah, giving inmate guns, drugs, alcohol. What was the facts of that for that warrant taken the same day by Mr. Swain?
Let me check.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Is this for a different?
No, this is the warrant number 0099. We got 0098 and 0099.
Okay, so you're looking, so you're looking for those, that case number?
It should be the same case number. It should be because it looks like it was the same day.
Right, that's the one with the aggravated battery, Lieutenant.
Is that for the 004003?
Yes.
Okay, and this is not the January 6th case, right? January 6th of 2023?
No, this would be a warrant that was taken out by Mr. Swain on the December 31st incident.
Oh, for the cell phone. Let me. So on, I recall that day, but I'm not sure if it was. I have to just check, but yes, I do recall him getting a warrant for a cell phone from him. Warrant. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, I do remember. I don't have that warrant in front of me, but I do recall a warrant was issued because they found a cell phone, but I cannot recall the discovery of the cell phone at this time.
All right, thank you very much on that. Going back to the aggravated battery itself, you've seen the video, is that correct?
Correct.
And you said that you could not see Mr. Bell's face?
No, we could not.
And how was it? I know you said that you kind of identified everyone by clothing and tattoos, kind of generalized, but how did you identify Mr. Bell?
So we identified Mr. Bell due to his feet and what was occurring at the time. They were recording cell phone. Mr. Bell, so basically the victim was down on the ground and they were recording like this. So that's how we was sort of able to tattoos, what they had on, stuff like that. So during the actual video, while they were pointing it down at the bottom, Mr. Bell had his feet inside of the video along with
I'm sorry, you broke up on that last part. You said Mr. Bell had his feet on the bottom, and then I couldn't understand the rest.
So during the video, as they're recording on the cell phone, That's how we was able to identify a lot of the inmates, was like through their tattoos, things that they had on their wrist, or certain characteristics of their clothes. During the video, while they were pointing it down, while they were stumping Mr. Aduzador, quite naturally, we're looking at their feet, we're looking at the clothing that they have on, and we're looking at the shoes. So when we started pulling the inmates out, that's one thing that we were looking at: their feet, their shoes, because they were actually bare feet. Some of them were barefooted, and some of them were barefooted with actual slides on. So when we pulled Mr. Bell out, he had on the same slides inside of the video. And then once we started to break down the video, stop it, slow motion, we discovered that Mr. Bell's feet was inside of the actual video footage itself that did a lot of the stumping on Mr. Aduzador. And so we was able to take pictures of his feet and compare it to the video.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I have no further questions.
No
Okay, we're
additional
ready.
questions from the state. The state rests.
Okay, Attorney Scott, do you have any witnesses for the defense?
No witnesses, Judge, just some brief argument.
Okay, we're ready for argument. 88 Freeman.
Oh, yes, the state waives opening.
Okay, Attorney Scott.
And Judge, just for purposes of preliminary hearing, just because it is only a probable cause analysis, on the warrant number 02425, we would submit, try to make this as easy as possible.
Mhm. Okay,
On warrant 0078, we would submit.
okay,
0098, the aggravated battery, we would submit. And again, just so that Mr. Bell understands, this is just for purposes of probable cause.
okay,
And then Judge, but on warrant number 0099, which is the giving inmate guns, drugs, alcohol, prohibited item, basically inmate contraband. Judge, we would ask that warrant be dismissed at this point. The lieutenant's testimony was that he recalls that a warrant was taken out, but he does not recall any of the facts, Judge. So we've essentially heard no testimony on that warrant, and we would ask that it be dismissed.
okay. And that's for warrant number 2023 CW 50099.
99, yes, Judge.
Okay. 88 Freeman, your response?
Thank you, Judge. Now, during direct, Lieutenant Brunt did give testimony regarding that particular warrant 0099, even though, as he testified before, with some of these cases, when the officers aren't there, but because he was a supervisor, he's providing testimony. He did testify that the cell phone was found in the cell of Mr. Bell for that particular warrant. And so we believe that for this stage, for probable cause, that's sufficient to bind that charge over along with the other charges to Superior Court.
Okay. Okay, I do believe there was some testimony on the red with respect to the discovery of the contraband. I know he said he didn't necessarily recall, maybe in the way that the question was asked. I'm not certain, but I do recall testimony with respect to the contraband. So with that said, I am willing to bound over all cases to Superior Court. That will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Bell. And Attorney Scott, thank you for your presentation of your case.
No problem,
Thank
Judge.
you, Judge.
That is the only case I have left. May I be excused?
You may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you, Judge.
then-
And I believe that just want to double check, make sure. I think the other cases with Lieutenant Brock were